So that's kind of in the system. There's called ejido. So and this system goes back prior 1492. So before just how do you, you have a city like Mexico City at the time Tenochtitlan of 350,000 people, right? How do you give 350,000 people like access to land, right? Back then. So when Lázaro Cárdenas created this program, and now they're trying to get rid of it. So Salinas de Gortari, which was the president 4 terms ago in Mexico, started getting rid of the ejido program, and which now creates a privatization of the land. So because you brought up earlier of the Tren Maya, now the people don't even have access to ejidos. So now they could privatize all that land that originally belongs to the Mexican people, right? And at that point, it's not a matter in this structure. It's not a matter of indigeneity. It's not. It's the human right to have access to land.
Yeah.
So with the undoing of the ejidos, and which is part of the fighting of the EZLN, the EZLN, the Ejército Zapatista de Liberación Nacional, was founded specifically for that because Salinas de Gortari at the time was undoing the ejido system. And the Mayan people of Chiapas, they based their entire system of agriculture on the access to land, no matter what. And now that was being threatened. So organizations were started in order to fight back, right? So the EZLN took up arms against the Mexican government, winning the keeping of their lands. So that's a lot of the source in terms of land, but it's so easy under the disguise of smoke and theatrics. Like when AMLO became president, you get a couple people dressed like native people up on stage in the middle of Mexico City with all the cameras, and they're passing smoke, and all of a sudden he's for indigenous culture, right? But we've seen that, right? We've seen the theatrics, and that's kind of what was going on with AMLO. Now the new person who's taken over, she's completely on the same boat, right, as AMLO. And so you have these issues there. You have similar issues here. So when people come here, a lot of us turn to agriculture. A lot of people that come from the south.
Well, it seems like you'll have a bigger issue with the new president coming in because her biggest funders are BlackRock. She has ties to BlackRock, which are the asset holding companies that are wreaking havoc through corporations all over the world. And so from what it sounds like with the infrastructure and the future plans for Mexico, they have a big part in that. And labor is still fairly cheap there. And from what I've seen, a lot of like assembling companies are going to move from China over to Mexico, which could be a good thing for factory and labor workers. But we'll see, I guess.
And I think it depends. You could look at it. There's one on the one hand, you're on the economics and social well-being of the people, meaning that more labor, more work, and all that means more money and all that. But it also means deeper immersion into capitalism, deeper immersion into a system,
colonization.
The erasure of indigenous cultures. That's what capitalism's founded on: erasure. It's founded on slavery, founded on removal of indigenous people and resources. That's what funds capitalism, both socially, economically, and historically. I mean funding. When you fund history and the outcome of history and the way books are written and history is written, you and I both know, like American history is written by the European colonizers. It's like we have to do the research to rewrite our own history, whereas theirs is the predominant idea, and that's what we get taught in schools, right?
Well, our culture is kind of the opposite of capitalism, because we live in communities where we're helping each other take care of each other. We're living off the land. We're taking care of the land. we're taking care of the animals around us. We're only taking what we need, nothing
Right.
more. And we're also not going into other people's lands and communities and taking their resources
Right.
because we don't need it. We have what we need in
Right.
our communities.
Yeah.
And so capitalism is the opposite mindset where it's just take as much as you can and keep it all for yourself.
Yeah. And that's the difference in, I guess, yeah, like it does create, this Tren Maya. Yeah, it creates jobs for 4 or 5 years. Sure. And then people have a means to eat and all of that. But the long term effects is part of the formula of capitalism is to create a system where is think of yourself, right? So that's what a lot of these folks are doing. They're thinking of their right to live and their immediate survival. Completely understandable. Like you can't knock people for like, damn, they're giving me a job. I gotta eat, otherwise I can't find work. Like that's a really hard argument to make, like or to make against that. Like, no, you don't. You shouldn't go feed your family. You shouldn't participate in it. If that's all there is, it's really hard to convince others outside of that. So this is why I understand the economic and social argument to it.
But your fight is more so sounds like educating people about their culture and then
Mhm.
bringing them to that aspect of it. Well, obviously, we can't get away from you need a job, right? You need to
Right,
take care of your family, and
right,
this world is built on the American dollar, so we have to partake in that system. But
right.
it sounds like you are more so trying to lead them back to the indigenous way of thinking.
I think it's one thing to participate in capitalism. It's another to be a capitalist, right? So we all partake. We put gas. We pay electricity, rent, mortgages, whatever it is. But it's another thing to be a capitalist and use that to capitalize off of others, right? So if you have a business, that your business helps fund things that are indigenous focused, right? If you know, I don't know, like whatever we can do, even if it's at a small scale, that we find ways of turning the mindset, and really think about generations to come, you know, because if we just think of our survival, I'm afraid that our culture, along with all indigenous cultures, I think it's important that all indigenous cultures survive, from Indonesia to Australia, New Zealand. Like, it's so important because that's where our values lie. That's where our ways of interacting with Mother Earth, our ways of education, of food, of all these things, they're still embedded in indigenous cultures. But capitalism is on a mission to destroy all of it. And you see it in Africa, South America, you see it here, Mexico, like you see it everywhere now, where indigenous cultures are slowly disappearing and being absorbed by capitalism